After 7 long, grueling years, it is finally time. Metroid Prime 4 is coming in 2025. The wait is finally coming to an end. We may have only had a small look so far, but I have seen enough. This game is gonna be absolutely amazing. A bit premature maybe, but let me be hyped, damn it. The early signs are all there, and after I've laid them all out for you, trust me, you'll join me in my hype. Let's take a closer look at this trailer. Starting with hype reason number 1. Prime is still unapologetically Prime. From the moment the trailer opens, with Samus her revamped gunship landing, the way she rises up out of it, and then transitioning to first person view, I was hit with a wave of nostalgia. It's an image we have seen so many times in the trilogy already, and in this trailer it serves as the beginning of a sequence of familiar mechanic after familiar mechanic. The scanning of the space pirate to learn in the most graphic of details how it died, and the rolling through the vents while scenes of war play out below you, it's an essential part of the Metroid Prime formula at this point. Now, for some franchises, this would actually be a reason to worry. After all, you don't want to play the same game year after year. It's important for every series to reinvent themselves and try new things. And while I of course do want plenty of new elements to warrant that 7-year wait, for Prime that is not the same. This series hasn't had a new entry since the Wii, for God's sake. We don't need this wheel reinvented, we just need it to return. There's plenty of time to experiment later. What the series needs most at this point is a banger of a game that introduces an entirely new generation to the brilliance of Prime. And judging by what I see here gameplay wise, I have a lot of reasons to believe we'll see some classically well thought out Prime environments here, which ties nicely into hype reason number 2, the graphics. Now, let me begin this section by saying I don't think Prime 4 Beyond looks significantly better than Prime Remastered. Is that a bad thing though? It depends. I'm sure there will be a subset of fans that will be a bit disappointed if Prime 4 ends up looking similar to Prime Remastered. And especially if it ends up being a Switch 2 game, I can understand that. The trailer does have the Switch logo on it, so I expect it to be on there at least, but a double release, Breath of the Wild style, also feels likely. Either way, of course, it would be a little disappointing if the new Prime game on stronger hardware ends up looking similar to the game on its predecessor, but let us not forget, Prime Remastered is one of, if not the best looking game on the Switch. I firmly believe in the saying that comparison is the thief of joy for these kind of things, and so I prefer to look at what Prime 4 actually is, and not what it could be or should be in some arbitrary way. And I see a game with stunning visuals, now with environments that are made with that graphical fidelity in mind. Take the forest area, the final shot of the trailer. This world looks absolutely incredible. I can't wait to explore it and see all it has to offer. The graphics may not be too different from Remastered in this first look, but the environmental design does feel like it received a huge upgrade, which is also visible with the spectacle that's going on overhead during the opening. We have seen similar scenes in previous Prime titles, but this one does feel next level. Okay, on to hype reason number 3. The shooting is still clunky. Yes, I have not gone insane, that is a good thing. This kinda ties into my first reason, but I decided to make it its own section because I felt a bit more unsure about this compared to those initial arguments. The thing is, Metroid Prime is not a shooter. It's a combination between a Metroidvania, a platformer, and of course has first-person shooter elements, but this is not Halo. And we as fans know that, but what worried me is that after 18 years, a new entry would play into these shooter elements. After all, the FPS genre has evolved massively since then. It was already popular of course in 2007, but it has only grown and grown, so I definitely considered it a possibility Nintendo and the mysterious original development team would want to steer the game into that direction. That fear lowered when it was announced Retro Studios would be making the game, but I couldn't completely shake it off until this trailer. The way Samus shoots at these space pirates is clearly not footage from a first-person shooter. It's simply too clunky for that. And that's perfectly fine, because all Prime games have had that to an extent. It doesn't matter or bother me. Combat isn't the focus of these games. It's a part of the world and the challenge, to deal with enemies while keeping the limited weapons and options in mind. In fact, we can already see Samus only has the missile launcher in the trailer, but that could of course simply be for the trailer. Next is what I would consider the absolute highlight of the trailer, hype reason number 4. Psylocke is here. Now, that is of course not really a surprise. See my video on Silex as to why. And I'm still very happy to see he's not just present, but also looking very intimidating. In my opinion, one of the weaker points of the Prime trilogy is the villain. Dark Samus is super cool, don't get me wrong, but especially in Prime 3, which has a lot of world building, characters and dialogue, a villain who doesn't speak feels like a missed opportunity. There is still a lot we don't know about Silex, including whether he can talk, but considering I personally believe Silex is human, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually got some dialogue for him in this game. That said, what he needs most of all is personality, and he already has that in abundance in this trailer. The way he crashes in with the Metroid floating behind him like his lackeys, it oozes supervillain, which is something we have never seen in the Prime games and only very sporadically in the rest of the series. Let's be real here, Metroid villains are not the most motivated bunch. But Silex is different. He has a clear goal, destroying the Galactic Federation. He has a plan, as is evident with him preparing this assault in the ending of Federation Force, and hopefully he will also be given a fitting personality in this title. And speaking of titles, hype reason number 5 is the name of the game, literally. Just like the 2 games that preceded it, Prime 4 has a subtitle. After Echoes and Corruption, we now get Beyond. And let me tell you, just this one word gets me so hyped. We don't even know what it applies to yet, but it is enough to set my mind racing and dreaming. My current leading theory is that it applies to the scope of the story. We already saw with Prime 3 that this is a direction the developers want to take the series in. Bigger and larger was what the game was all about, with more worlds to explore, a much more involved story, and with more new characters than the first 2 games combined. I also can't get that final scene out of my head in combination with this title. This planet truly feels bigger and vaster than anything we have ever seen in the Prime series. Maybe that's me seeing what I want to see, you know, a little wishful thinking, but I believe them when they say we will be going beyond the scope of what Prime used to be. Essentially, it's growth and covering new ground where I want new ground to be covered. And meanwhile, the gameplay so far looks to be quite conservative, which is also completely fine. Never change a winning team after all. I guess that's the best way to sum up my feelings about this trailer. It seems to push the boundaries a necessary amount, while also not forgetting what has made this series so amazing. Every fear I had for this title, after a troubled development and 18 years without a proper new game, has melted with this trailer. So, hyped yet? Have I managed to convince you this game is gonna be stellar, or are you more skeptical than me? Let me know in the comments what you thought of the trailer and what you hope Prime 4 ends up becoming. It's always fun and inspiring to discuss stuff like that. Either way, hyped or not, it's gonna be a long year waiting for Prime 4 to arrive on whatever console it ends up releasing on, and of course, I plan to keep making videos about the game and the Metroid series as a whole while we wait. So, consider subscribing if that's something you're interested in. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.